about finding slope. And what we've talked about previously is slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we already know that b is the y-intercept, and we know m is the slope. Now there's going to be situations in the future where you're told to put something in slope-intercept form, but you don't know the slope yet. So today we're talking about how to find that slope. And slope is m. It's not the x. It's whatever we find for slope we put in for m, and we leave the x there. So that being said, there's a couple ways that you can find slope. The first way is pretty simple, but unfortunately this is only given to us in a few situations. So we have a line with two dots, right? They're clearly defined. We have -3, -2. We have 3, 2. So in this situation, we can either A, use the slope equation, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or B, we can actually count how far up it's going and how far it's running. Because remember, we talked about slope is rise over run. So all we have to do is look here. From this point, it looks like we are rising 4. So we would put a 4 on top. And we are running 6. Now to put slope in simplest form, we have to simplify the fraction. Simplified form of 4 over 6 is 2 over 3. You can attack this in two different ways. You can either go underneath like this, like they did, or you can even go on top. Remember, we are going from one point to the other point. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we know we put a 4 there. We're going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So really, slope is just the rate of change from one point to the next point. And in this situation, we're lucky because we can count boxes instead of doing the slope equation. Same with this. We're going to put our rise over our run. And so in this situation, we have to put our y on top of our x. It looks like we are dropping 3, so that's a -3. Put a -3 on top. And we are running 2. And we'll just leave it just like that. Okay, we're going to move on. So this is a monitoring progress. Now we're going to do this one a little bit differently, okay? Oops. And the reason I say differently is because I'm going to have you do this one on your own. So go ahead and pause the video. Do that one quickly on your own. Okay, so I told you to do this one on your own. We're going to do something else with the other ones. So I'm going to put a little line there to separate our two graphs. Now, all we have to do to find our slope is count. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count my rise to go from this point to this point. So I rise 1, 2. So that means our 2 is on top. And I go to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since we're moving left, that's negative, so this line is a -5. So we put our -5 on the bottom, and we are done. Now, we're going to talk about these two. And I know on this one you can still count the boxes, but this one you can't, and we haven't talked about how to use the slope formula yet. So the slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And it looks like a lot, but truly it's not. So we look at our two coordinates here. And honestly, you can pick and choose whatever you want to make your one coordinate and whatever you want to make your two coordinate. Personally, I like to just start on the left as 1 and make the right 2. So we'll go ahead and start by identifying these two as our x1 and our y1. And then we'll put two 2's here. We know that this is our x2 and our y2. Remember, x always comes first in the coordinate, x before y, just like the alphabet. Okay, so now we're going to set up our equation. We're using that one over there. We have m equals. Now our y2, that's going to be 3. So we put 3. Put our minus sign before we put our second number. Now we have to find our y1. Our y1 is a -1. over our x2 is 3 minus our x1, which is a negative 3. Okay, we know we have these two negative signs. Diverdude turns into a plus sign, right? 3 plus 1 is 4. And 3 plus 3 is 6. And in order to reduce this fraction, we need to divide both the top and the bottom by 2. Our slope in this situation is 2 over 3. Now, since we've done this one, I want you to try the one on the right on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and give it a shot. Okay, hopefully you've tried this one on your own by now. Okay, hopefully you tried that one on your own. All you have to do is put your coordinates into the equation. I'm going to choose to make these my 1s and these my 2s. If you did it the other way, you should get the exact same answer. So x and y, x and y. Now let's set it up. My y2 is 4 minus my y1, which is a negative 3, over my x2, which is 5, minus my x1, which is 2. Diverdude. 4 plus 3 is 7, over 5 minus 2 is 3. Our slope is 7 over 3. Once you get to a fraction that you cannot reduce, just leave it as a fraction. It's going to help you graph. If you want to make it in decimal form, you can. That's up to you. But my recommendation, leave your slope in fraction form, because when we graph on Monday, it's going to be a lot easier to graph with a fraction than a decimal. Okay. Example 2, finding slope from a table. Now, we've talked about this. Maybe not this in particular, but when you have a table, it's just the same thing as coordinates. Sometimes you get your coordinates in table form, and that's okay. Now, the thing about it is, with our equation being m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, that tells us we just need 4 points to put in there, right? So what I would do is I would just pick the two that are right next to each other, because then most likely you're not going to have to reduce your slope, and if you do, it's going to be very little. Whereas if I were to choose this top one and the bottom one, I'm going to have to reduce my slope quite a bit, and as I said in algebra, it's always better to take the least amount of steps. So we'll look here. We'll just go ahead and make these 1 and 2, and we'll solve it. My y1, this is our y, right? My y2 is what we're looking for, is 14. 14 minus my y1, which is 20, over my x2, which is 7, minus my x1, which is 4. 14 minus 20 is a negative 6, over 7 minus 4 is 3. Negative 6 divided by 3 is a negative 2, so our slope is a negative 2. Okay, moving on to B. We're going to do the exact same thing. Take these two, make them our 1 and 2s. For y, our y2 is 2, minus our y1, which is 2, over our x2, which is 1, minus our x1, which is a negative 1. 2 minus 2 is 0, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, the question is, can we divide 0 by 2? You can always check in a calculator. 0 divided by 2 is 0, so our slope is 0. It's not undefined, it's 0. Now, when we look at C, this is a good example of why it's undefined instead of 0. We're going to look at these top two again. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Over here, we're going to take our y2, which is 0, minus our y1, which is a negative 3, over our x2, which is a negative 3, minus our x1, which is also a negative 3. These tell us we're adding. 0 plus 3 is 3, over a negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Now here's a situation you cannot divide 3 by 0, so therefore it's undefined. Okay, you need to know the difference between these two. This is the most common mistake that I've seen. I've seen a slope of 0 and undefined be mixed around so many times. You just have to remember it. And like I said, you can always check in your calculator if you are unsure. If you divide 0 by 2 in your calculator, you're going to get 0. That means your slope's 0. If you divide 3 by 0 in your calculator, you're going to get what's called a domain error. That tells you it's undefined. So if you're unsure, make sure that you put it in your calculator, or just remember, if the 0's on top, you're good. If the 0's on the bottom, it's not good. Okay, and we are going to move on to the final, monitoring progress. So go ahead and try these two out. Pause the video, and we'll go over them. Okay, hopefully you've tried them by now. We know our equation is still m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, pick 2 points. Remember, our x and y have to pair. We'll make this our x1 or x2, our y1 or our y2. Okay, let's set up our equation. Our y2 is 15 minus our y1, which is 10, over our x2, which is 4, minus our x1, which is 2. 15 minus 10 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. Our slope is 5 over 2. Okay, and for number 5, do the same thing. We're just going to pick 2 points. Our y2 is negative 9 minus a negative 12. That's divergent. Our x2 is 5 minus 5. At this point, you know 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 is going to be on the bottom. And since 0 is on the bottom, it is undefined. Okay, of course, check your answers, make sure you did them right. If you have questions, please ask me in class.